Welcome, dear friends, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're so glad you joined us today. But I have to share some news with you. I shared it earlier in the week. Jerry is not with us today. He will be back on Monday, though. I promise, God willing, he will be back. Jerry is off raising money for Sacred Heart Radio in Seattle. And I hear that their pledge drive is going really, really well. So many people are participating and supporting their local Catholic radio station. So just a reminder to all of you, it is pledge drive season. So if you do get that, if you do hear it on your local radio station about a pledge drive or a fund drive going on, please prayerfully consider giving to your local Catholic radio station. And of course, remember EWTN, because this is why you're tuned in right now. On EWTN, we want to keep it going strong. And the only way we do that is with everybody's support. So if you can do that, that would be great. So I'm again solo for today, but I'm kind of excited because we are in anticipation of St. Joseph's Day, which is tomorrow, March 19th. Yesterday we really talked about and celebrated St. Patrick's Day, but tomorrow is St. Joseph's Day. So we thought we would celebrate St. Joseph's Day today and talk about St. Joseph, the patron saint of workers. And I was going to just kind of slip in there a little bit of my Sicilian culture. And St. Joseph's Day, or San Giuseppe, is absolutely one of the, celebrated days in especially the Italian Sicilian culture. And it's exciting because you eat a lot of pastries, tons and in fact tables full of pastries on St. Joseph's Day. So if you've never really been accustomed to it, take a look on it. Take a look on the internet about St. Joseph's Day or San Giuseppe festivals, and you'll really understand why, especially the Sicilians had such a strong appreciation for St. Joseph, given that they had prayed. They had a big drought in Sicily. It goes back to the Middle Ages, and they prayed for the intercession of, St. Joseph to help, and they got rain. And so since then, they promised they would always celebrate the feast day. And it's really a wonderful celebration. So it's a time for us to really think about that. But today, so many of you are weighing in on Take Two because we asked you to share your first job. Why is that? Because St. Joseph is the patron saint of workers. He's also the patron saint of many other things because he's just amazing. We all know St. Joseph is amazing. Thank you, St. Joseph, the protector of the church. And it is important for us to maybe think about, what was our first job? How did that shape us? Did it make us into a better Christian, our first job? Did it, help us become matured, how to deal with people? What transpired from our first job? So that's what we wanted you to weigh in on, and you did so beautifully. Social media was just a buzz of your stories, and boy, oh boy, did we here at EWTN get such a kick out of your stories. Some of you making, 12 cents, 30 cents. I mean, you dated yourself a little bit. We could kind of figure out at what time frame you got hired on, but it's changed a lot, and a lot of things are very different. And so we want to hear from you. If you want to jump in, dial in and share your first job. 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396. We're really celebrating St. Joseph's Day early, and we're honoring St. Joseph, the patron saint of workers. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and get because I'm very transparent. So I wanted to make sure if we're asking you to share your first job, we should share our first jobs. So I will go, our team, remember, we're a team here. So Rich Jesse is our producer. Jeff Burson is our social media expert. Matt Gabinski, he's the wonderful person you talk to when you call up, and he kind of gets a call ready to go on the air. And then there's Jerry and myself. So I'm going to share with you the first jobs of the whole team here on Take Two. Okay, you ready? It's kind of cool, actually, and one of them's really interesting. Okay, so Rich Jesse, our producer, his first job was he was a shoe salesman. A shoe salesman. Think about that. That's really cool. So that was his first job in Alabama, was being a shoe salesman. Jeff Burson, our social media expert, he worked in a floral department at a store, a florist. He worked in a floral department, but also At the same time, he also worked in a funeral home. I guess you would say transporting bodies or moving bodies. I don't know if it's transporting bodies outside of the funeral home or transporting bodies into the casket. So that's very interesting. So you got flowers on one hand and then, handling people that have passed on. That's very interesting. So that was Jeff Burson's first job. Matt Gabinski, our call screener. This is really cool. His first job was technically his first job. Well, let me first share this with you. His first regular steady job was working in a grocery store. Okay, so that's really cool. But when he was 4 years old, he was a model for a nutrition company. He was a model at 4 years old. So that really technically is his first job. So we didn't know that. We just found out we have a model on the staff here. Jerry Usher. His first job, and it kind of give you a little bit of a hint on the picture that we had on the Take2 show.com website. It's not Jerry. It's just a outside picture, but it is reminiscent of what Jerry did. His first job was a paper route. He was a paper boy, and he got 30 cents per paper delivered. And in the picture we have on Take2, the little boy on that picture is riding a bicycle. Jerry had to walk. Wow, that must have been tough. So he had to walk. So his was a paper route. Okay, and I saved me for last. So my first job, like so many of you weighing in on social media, Aiden said this and Raylene said this, that our first jobs was babysitting. That was my first job. I went into babysitting. And I think that's kind of, was kind of a natural thing, especially when you live in a small town. It's easy to do because there's always, somebody in need of babysitting services, and it's easy to do because you can kind of walk to the person's house or something like that. So that worked out really well for me. And Raylene weighed in on that. She said that was her first job, and Aiden first job there. But my first steady job, dear listeners, you know this because you know that I grew up in a golfing family. I shared that a couple of shows, and my dad wanted me to be a golf professional. So naturally, working in a country club was kind of a natural thing for me to do. So I worked at a very exclusive private country club in northern New Jersey in the pro shop. And I got to fit clubs for people and stuff like that, so to keep up my golfing skills. So that was my first job. Okay, so now we want to hear from you. What was your first job, and did it help you? What did you learn from your first job? Maybe you started, like some were weighing in on social media, maybe you did a job for just a day or two or even a few hours. We have one, Pat weighed in with first job was working in a garlic factory, and that didn't last too long. Got let go pretty much right away because of didn't have, I guess, the skills of packing garlic. So maybe, and what did that teach you about success? What did it teach you about maybe not having things work out the way you wanted them to? Did it build character? Did it build insecurities? We got to hear from you. So I don't want to do this alone. Don't leave me hanging, because I don't like that. That's why Jerry and I love doing the show together, so we can bounce things back and forth. So you drive the show. Don't hesitate. Share your takes on this about your first job. 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about St. Joseph today. And we're talking about he's the patron saint of workers. So we want to hear about your first job, and what has that done for you? What has your first job given you in life? Think about it. Stay with us through this short break. Here come the calls. That's a good sign. 1-800-585-9396. We'll be right back talking about your first job.
And welcome to EWTN's Bookmark Brief. I'm Doug Keck. I just finished talking with Patty Gallagher Mansfield about her Golden Jubilee edition of her book, As by a New Pentecost, Dramatic Beginning of the Catholic Charismatic renewal. So, Patty, you want to give us a little synopsis of what this Golden Jubilee edition is about?
Yes, well, 2017 marks 50 years since the Duquesne Weekend, which was the event that sparked the Catholic Charismatic Renewal. But the book is about much more than just the Duquesne Weekend, because our Holy Father, Pope Francis, has said to us in the renewal, share with the whole church the grace of baptism in the Spirit. And so what the testimonies in this book, the history in this book, and also the quotes from recent popes in this book are all about is, what does the Holy Spirit want to do in our lives today, and how can the Holy Spirit help us evangelize? We're called to the new evangelization, and the Holy Father, Pope Francis, wants the whole church involved in it. And so this Golden Jubilee edition is meant to interest people in opening themselves up to the Holy Spirit.
So it's not just for people who've been through the Life in the Spirit seminar or been part of the Charismatic Renewal. It's really for people to understand and maybe open themselves to it in the future.
It's not sentimentality and it's not history. I'm not a historian, but I am a witness.
But there's a lot of great facts in this book.
There's plenty of history there, but it's really meant to share the grace of baptism in the Spirit.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. We're talking here again with Patty Gallagher Mansfield. This is the Golden Jubilee edition of As by New Pentecost, the dramatic beginning of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog, EWTNRC.com. And look for the interview coming soon to EWTN. This has been an EWTN Bookmark Brief. Thanks for joining us.
This is Bishop Paul Bradley of the Diocese of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Hi, this is Tim Staples from Catholic Answers Live.
This is Father John Riccardo wishing you a prayerful and blessed Lent from all of us at the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Thanks for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. I'm Debbie Georgiani, and I am hosting the show alone today. Yep, that's right. Don't you feel sad for me? Because Jerry Usher is working hard to raise money for Catholic radio. But you know what? I kind of fibbed a little. I'm not alone because the phone lines are almost completely full. And so I thank you in advance so very, very much for not leaving me here alone to talk to myself. So if you want to jump in on that open phone line, it's 1-800-585-9396. I have to tell you, I'm a little bit, kind of giddy because it's the day before St. Joseph's Day. And, growing up, we always celebrated it with lots and lots of Italian pastries. So I'm kind of getting, really happy about that, thinking about that for tomorrow. So starting this celebration today really makes me happy. Okay, we're going to go to Alice, listening to EWTN radio in Louisiana on the EWTN app. Hi, Alice. You're starting off the show.
Hi. How you doing? You're not alone. We're here with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much.
But I wanted to tell you, my first job was kind of a disaster, only because they didn't know I was mentally ill at the time, or I didn't know they knew. And I fell asleep with 6 kids running around, with whatever number of kids I was babysitting, running around the house. The parents walked in, and the kids are still awake, and they're running around the house. And, oh, God. Then I worked for a place called Gaylord's, and that was, I made it through Christmas, and they didn't rehire me. So I have not had to work, so I'm very thankful that I raised 3 kids at home with my husband. And, I've gotten mentally better along the way and gotten help that I needed from priests and doctors and stuff. So I have survived. I'm 65 now, and I've really survived very well.
Yeah. Yeah, and Alice, it sounds like, that you had a lot of your guardian angel and the children's guardian angels, because it sounds like those children were, praise God, fine when the parents came home. Yeah, so
they really were. And I have going to have my 11th grandchild in October, and I babysit them, and I'm very aware of what's going on, and I know where they are at all times. And so it's getting better, and I'm thankful for the 11 grandkids, and I can babysit them, and I know I'm not a disaster now. But I'm very happy now, and I'm glad, I was able to talk to you. I say it every time I talk to you guys. Thank you for the rosary. Because like you said last night, we have a friend in the parish that has cancer, and she gave her testimony last night, and she's delightful. She really is. And I used the rosary to Divine Mercy and the rosary afterwards. And so our pastor's doing it every month for once a year. We're having somebody come each month and talk. Mm-hmm. And we have the testimony and then the rosary and stuff. And so it's good. We get about 100 people come in and listen and everything. But anyway, I've missed Jerry, but I know he's going to be back next week.
Yep.
Thank you very much. And I listen to you most of the time, every day.
Oh, thank you, Alice. We appreciate it. And you know what? You are such a great mom, and for you to raise 3 children, that's wonderful. That is amazing. That is a blessing. And you know what? Way to go. I love your spirit. I love when you call. Keep checking in with us. Thanks for listening. Please continue to pray the rosary for all of the Take Two listeners. That would really be wonderful as well, Alice. God bless you.
My kids when they were growing up, and now they're really they're adults, kids of their own, and they're very good kids, and I'm very proud of them.
Oh, bless your heart. Well, way to go, Alice. Thank you so much. Thanks for blessing our day today. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Wow, how beautiful is that? I love Alice. She's awesome. Okay, so we're going to move right along. So we heard of, a first babysitting job that just, didn't turn out well. So we want to hear about your first job as well. Teresa, listening to EWTN radio in Kansas. Hi, Teresa. Welcome to Take Two.
Hello. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. My first job was at the Anderson County Hospital in Garnett, Kansas.
Okay. And tell me what you did.
I was a housekeeper.
Okay.
So I was 16 years old, and it taught me many things. Obviously, I had to get up. My mom and dad did not get me up because I had to be at work at 5 in the morning. So it was an early rising job, and I worked on the weekends, and so I would go to the athletic activities on Friday or through the week, and then I would get up bright and early and go to work. So it taught me many things.
So
and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I have 5 boys now, and so try to instill that work ethic, to them. So it was quite an experience.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Okay, so getting up early and having to be disciplined with the schedule, and housekeeping, that's tough work. I mean, that's not easy. You're not resting. You're moving and doing things. And so you took that into your adult life because you were 16 at the time. And so those are now, if I'm hearing you correctly, those are some of the character building skills and traits that you're trying to pass on to your children, right?
That's correct. Yes.
So how is that working? Is it translating to the kids?
Well, it's a challenge. Today's world's different, but we do our best. They're young yet. Our oldest one is 14, and our youngest is 2, and so we try to instill that. It's just different right now. They don't have a job, obviously, but they're involved in athletics. So they have to take that work ethic, at a different level. I guess not necessarily getting monetary gain, but other gains in life, and also education. We talk all the time about having to be responsible for their work, and, you have decisions that you have to make, and they impact, everyday decisions, everyday life, I guess. So.
Right. But you probably wouldn't trade your experience. Am I correct on that?
Oh, no. And, I was around a lot of older people and, cleaning the rooms of the patients and stuff, so I did have to learn people skills, I just couldn't go in and not speak, so that was a blessing, I feel, and getting attached to, the older people that actually work there, I think being young and working with older people, it makes their day, they enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I would not trade it for the world. I would
Right.
trade the hours, but not the job.
Right, right. Well, and Teresa, I just want to echo what you're saying because I agree with you. The rest of my early young adult life, I was in hotel restaurant management and service. And I think the service industry, anytime we're in service of others, it really does help us grow in relationship on how to treat others, what others expect. There's respect and all sorts of things that play into it. And I really think it does shape us and mature us in ways that we can't learn. I mean, when when I think about it, when I was going to school, I mean, other than the teachers that I would interact with, I mean, I was interacting with all peers. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And I agree. You can't get that experience without being, I think, pushed into that,
Yep.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I just couldn't resist. I think about that job all the time and what it's done for me.
Oh, well, see, then you got to reflect on it today in front of the whole world. So now
That's
it'll
right.
always stay with you.
That's
Well,
right.
you sound like a great mom, Teresa, and thank you so much for calling in and taking time and sharing your first work story. We appreciate it very much. Have a great rest of the day, Teresa.
Thank you. Uh-huh.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so we're hearing all these wonderful work stories and also some that didn't turn out so good, but we learn from it. And that's what this conversation is all about. That's what Take Two is all about. The Take Two is designed for us to have a conversation, let it develop, and see where it takes us. What do we learn from it? We may just learn a little kernel of truth, but it shapes us. It helps us grow. It helps us get closer to God. We start to reflect on ourselves and learn more about ourselves. And that's what Take Two is all about. So jump in if you want to share your first job. This is what it is today. We're talking about St. Joseph. He's the patron saint of workers. I'm also talking about St. Joseph's Day in anticipation of tomorrow, which is March 19th, which I'm so excited because we get to eat lots of pastries. And what's exciting about St. Joseph is that being the patron saint, it makes us think about our work, jobs, our careers, and what we did in our life. And so it's a great time to reflect on it and learn and see what we get out of it. 1-800-585-9396. There's an open line. You can jump in. 1-800-585-9396. Okay, we're going to go next to Bill. He's listening to EWTN radio in Cleveland, Ohio on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Bill.
Oh, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you.
Your topic made me think about my first job out of college.
Okay.
Not my first job, but it's more significant because I became a convert to the church 25 years ago. But before that time, in my first job, I was transferred out of town, out of my hometown, and didn't know many people and just went back and forth to work every day. And so one night I'm alone in my apartment and I get a door knock, and it's some very nice non-denominational couple evangelizing door to door. So I got involved with the church and the very nice people. And so I, at that time, when I'm 23 years old and out of college, I think I pretty much know everything. And now I know everything about God because I've, gone into this I've been evangelized by this couple in a nice church. And so one day I'm with my first boss that I've ever had after college, and looking back, I realized what a holy man he was. He was a holy Catholic guy. I didn't know it at the time or realize it, but he kind of set me in my place a little bit when I thought I had all the answers about the Catholic Church and this and that. And he was always very kind to everybody at work. And he was always, and looking back, now I think about him, he was just a good example. So several years later, I ended up going to Medjugorje and then became very devoted to the rosary and eventually became a convert, and I lost touch with him. But I think, looking back at that experience, I always think about him and I thought, well, my old boss Bill was probably praying for me, and I just never knew it clearly, but sometimes it just dawns on you years later,
Right.
He was very kind in the way he
Bill.
evangelized me.
Hey, Bill, hold on one second. You hear that music? We have to take this break. Stay on. I want to talk to you about this. So, dear listeners, hang on. We're going to talk to Bill about his first job. This is important. Stay with us.
Whether you're at home, at work, in the car, you can follow what he teaches 24 hours each day. We're EWTN Radio.
And just to let you know, I'm a returning Catholic because of EWTN. Bless you guys and keep it up.
And you're invited to visit our website too. Just log on to www.ewtn.com. That's www.ewtn.com.
From the archives, this is the wisdom of Mother Angelica.
Is your life so fast that you cannot see a sunrise or a sunset or pass one of these places in the country that have all kinds of little flowers? Have you ever stopped and just walked through them and said, our God is wonderful? So you're so caught up in gadgets. Rush, 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 rush. And you're living and you're not living. And you're getting older, but you won't admit it. I have a real problem with somebody say, how old are you? They say, but I don't talk about my age. Well, if you let me guess, it's going to be worse. Isn't it?
For more about Mother Angelica, visit EWTNRC.com.
Matt Swaim here, inviting you to start your day a better way with the Sunrise Morning Show, weekday mornings here on EWTN. It's a fast-paced program where we cover apologetics, scriptures, and the saint of the day, plus news, sports, entertainment, and family life, all from a Catholic perspective. So join us weekday mornings here on EWTN.
The Sunrise Morning Show. Better way to start your day.
Thanks for being with us today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. That was the one break that oh boy, do I wish we could move it, but we can't. So, Bill, please forgive me that I had to cut into your sentence. If you could rewind just a little bit so that our listeners can catch up. Please, I apologize so very much, but I wanted to talk to you. I didn't want to let you go. So share again this. So this boss of yours, I just want to get the picture correctly. This boss, was he Catholic? Was he Catholic?
Oh, definitely. And,
okay.
You know, I think in hindsight, you look back at your experiences and think, yeah, I was this brash kid that kind of knew everything about everything, and then I became a born-again Christian and thought I knew everything about the Catholic Church. But in his gentle way, which is, I think, the best way, which I think Catholics are the best at, is in terms of just catechizing and nurturing people that, maybe have different ideas about the Catholic Church because they've heard from non-Catholics what the Catholic Church is, which is obviously, usually a falsehood or something that's just not quite dead on. And he, in his own way, he did that for me. And he was very kind to the other people that sometimes people in the office would have problems and they knew where to go to talk to somebody. And they were, they directly reported to him as a boss. And they were, so he just exuded his Catholicism and just the way he lived and talked to people. And so I think it's just it's a good experience looking back. And I look at that as part of the springboard and probably part of God's plan for me, to eventually come into the Catholic Church, because at that time I would have never guessed I was going to become a convert to the church, some years later, but I did.
Right.
So
right.
It was a good work experience, and just thinking about him, in his gentle way with the people at the office.
Right.
You don't find that very often. The business world is can be kind of a little bit cutthroat and not so personal to many people. So
right.
he did a good job of that, just setting the example and setting me straight when I had my ideas about how he was going to go to hell because he was a Catholic. So
well, Yeah, well, Bill, I wanted to a couple things that you said. I just want to comment on real quickly. First of all, welcome home. That's beautiful that you've been many years in the church, and that's so awesome. So welcome home. And the other thing too is, you said earlier before the break that you've lost touch with this boss, and I personally believe, and I think I share this with a lot of others, that there's no accidents in God's plan. So your boss, was open to being that vessel, to be that example to you. Like you said, probably he was praying for you. He was gently nurturing you and getting you introduced to the faith. And so I'm sure he was definitely part of the plan and instrumental in your faith walk coming into the church. And you said you lost touch with him, but I always say that you can give such a better gift, an eternal gift to others who have helped us on our faith walk. And that is that if you would just share his first name, and then we ask all of the listeners, all of us, to just say a prayer of praise and thanksgiving and just a prayer of gratitude to God for this wonderful gentleman that was a mentor in your life. So can you share his first name?
Oh, sure. His name is Bill also, yeah. Yep.
Oh, his name is Bill also. Okay, I thought I caught that before the break, but I wasn't sure. Okay, so dear listeners, Bill's first boss. Boy, I just got chills. How coincidental is that his name is Bill? I mean, isn't that interesting? Okay,
Sure.
so Bill's first boss, Bill, was really an example and was really a person that was open to sharing the faith in a kind and gentle way, and maybe planted those perfect seeds for Bill to come into the church. So if we can all say a prayer for Bill's boss, Bill, today, and that just a prayer of gratitude to God that he was open. Bill, that's awesome. That's an awesome story, and that's I have to tell you, I have to let you in on all of you on a little secret. We do, absolutely, Take Two is you guys drive the show, however you want to take it. But there's always a part of me that always says, well, I kind of wish this will come out of the conversation. And Bill, your story is exactly what I had prayed for. And so I'm glad you shared it. I'm glad you took the time today, because I really do believe that there's no accidents. There's no accident to where we are today, where we have been, all the jobs we've done, all the encounters we've had with people. Everything is for a purpose, and it can be for a greater purpose. And Bill, you demonstrated that with your call and your story. So thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Bye, Bill. Have a great day. Wow, what a great, we're having some great stories today. I'm loving the show. I'm kind of sad Jerry's missing it. I'm going to have to text him and let him know what he's missing. Okay, there's an open phone line. I guess it has your name on it. Jump in. Don't hesitate, because the show goes very fast. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to call if you want to talk about your first job. We are celebrating St. Joseph. He's the patron saint of workers. Tomorrow is the feast day of St. Joseph, and just an amazing saint. I mean, we know his story and what he did, and how his participation, helped change salvation. And so it's beautiful. And so to honor him today is the perfect show that we chose. Okay, Catherine, listening to EWTN Radio in South Dakota on the Lamb Radio. Welcome, Catherine, to Take Two.
Well, hi. I'm so glad to be able to speak with you.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate this ministry very much. It's
Thank
very
you.
interesting and informative. My first job was in a drugstore, and I was a soda jerk, basically. Although I did work a cash register to help people buy things from the drugstore.
Okay, so how old were you when you did this, Catherine? Were you in the store?
19.
Oh, 19. Okay. And what was your...
And
Go
I'm
ahead.
70 now.
Beautiful. You don't sound that. You shouldn't tell anybody that, because you don't sound that.
Okay.
But, okay, so Catherine, let me ask you this question. So you had to interact with people. You interacted with, people of all ages. What did that teach you? What kind of character building did that instill in you?
Well, I was very shy. And so it helped me to get out of myself. Mm-hmm. And it taught me that there are so many different personalities for every single individual, and most of my clients, most of the people were very nice, and I had to learn how to mix up cherry cokes, how to make milkshakes, and then malts, which were different from milkshakes. And I had to learn to make tuna fish sandwiches and egg salad sandwiches. And it was a varied position.
Right.
And my boss was a Catholic man, a very kind and gentle person, and he had oodles of children. So, anyway, that was my first experience working with the public.
Right. And sounds like a beautiful experience. Now, I just want to say something, though, Catherine. You may find yourself, a knock on the door someday, and the Take Two show team will be at your door saying, okay, where's our milkshakes? And because we love that kind of stuff,
Well, I'd be happy to make you some.
Oh, bless your heart. Bless your heart, Catherine. That is a great story. Thank you for sharing it. What a delight. You made our day. So we really appreciate it. Awesome hearing from you, Catherine, and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. God bless you.
Oh, thank you, and I will.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Wow. What great stories. Oh my goodness. Phone lines are packed. I know some of you are trying to hang on, and then you may be having to get to work or something like that. Please call back if you want to. If not, you can keep the conversation going on Facebook. And that's EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook. You can email us, take2 at EWTN.com, take2show.com, whatever you want to do. We want to keep it going because this hour does go really, really fast. And so we want to make sure we try to get to everyone. But if we can't, we'll keep the conversation going. And we read everything. Sometimes we read it twice. Okay, Jenny, listening to EWTN Radio in Bellevue, Washington, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Jenny. Tell us your story.
Hi. My first job was that of a nursing assistant. I was 17 going on 18. I had taken a course, and I worked at the local hospital. And I absolutely loved my job. I had never wanted to be a nurse, and I had never wanted to be a teacher. I graduated in 1976, and at that point in time, I wanted to be a physician. But I knew that I couldn't be a wife and a mother and do it justice while, being a physician. So I thought, well, I'm going to get into the hospital, see the various professions. So I entered as a nursing assistant, and I absolutely fell in love with nursing. I learned that I was a true leader servant. I learned about the vulnerability of people and the essence of caring and touch and maintaining dignity and respect, which helped me to learn more about the passion of Jesus and all of the gifts that we are given. I completed my college education 5 years later with a bachelor's degree in nursing, and I continued to work. I eventually got married, and I was widowed at 32, and I had taken care of my husband who had died of lung cancer, and we had a 5-year-old daughter at the time, and I just feel like God had prepared me for everything that we were about to go through. And during that time, I didn't have a lot of family support because we lived so far away. And my relationship with our Blessed Mother just grew. I would climb in her arms every single night when I went to bed. And I've continued to be a nurse, and I consider it an honor and a privilege to care for people who are at their most vulnerable.
Right.
Outside of the unborn and the elderly, but to care for all people when they are so vulnerable, and just to bring love and prayer into their lives, even though it's silent prayer in a lot of occasions. I just completed a master's degree in nursing education. So now I'm working as a nurse educator. So I have the opportunity to take young minds when they're forming their nursing career, and I pray for my students. And, you know, through all these years, over 30 years, nursing has been my passion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was meant to be. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. It was absolutely meant to be. My husband was not Catholic. He was Christian, and he converted to Catholicism. I am now, I think God has positioned me in a place of evangelization. I'm evangelizing non-Christians. And all I did was hand my life over to God and said, yes, tell me where you want me to be. Show me. Bring people to me. Bring me to people. I volunteer in the community with St. Vincent de Paul.
Wow.
And my life is a service. I went to a Catholic university for graduate school, Jesuit school, where service was, the focus was on service. And that is my life. That is my mission.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have goosebumps, Holy Spirit goosebumps as you were talking. I mean, and to think that your first job as a nursing assistant, you know, it really, you know, it was just part of the path. It was part of your, like you said, you're a servant leader, and you, that's part of your path, and you cultivated it. You stayed open with it. You've gone through your own, you know. Now you shared about your husband, so I cut out just a little bit. So you were the caregiver for your husband?
Yes, for 2 years.
Okay.
And it was a very difficult case because we were told initially he was misdiagnosed.
Okay.
He was told that he had tuberculosis when actually it was TB, or it was lung cancer. So by the time they discovered it, it had metastasized throughout his body. We were told it would be a matter of weeks, and he lived for 2 years.
Wow.
And he, despite what hospice said and everything else, I lived through grand seizures, and his goal was to stay home, and so I took care of him with the help of a small hospice team.
Okay, so you did have help then. Yeah.
I had a little bit of a help, but it was before Medicare hospice, so I didn't have people come in and what have you. I had more nurses come in periodically. So I certainly didn't have someone to turn his care over to. I remember when I worked, I could only work 3 hours at a time because he couldn't be left. Sure. I had to hire someone to come in for him. But it was a wonderful experience. One of his caregivers, one of his bathing aides, said to me that when she bathed him, she was also Catholic, that she felt as though she was bathing the feet of Christ.
Oh.
It was just a very wonderful spiritual experience, and I can remember knowing that it was God's will, but that if it was God's will, that, I mean, I didn't ask to take it away, but I asked to be given the strength and courage to endure what we must endure.
Right.
And then after he died, I had the opportunity to pilgrim to Medjugorje that the year of the war, and I went there for All Souls and All Saints Day in Thanksgiving for the graces that we had been given. But and it's kind of funny because I'm now a nurse and a teacher, which is something that I never wanted to be. And in fact, I lost my housing deposit for my first college that I had chosen because I switched majors in May of my senior year.
Oh my goodness.
To that of nursing.
Yeah, to that of nursing. Wow. Well, Jenny, can you share your husband's first name so we can remember him in prayer?
His name was Morris.
Morris. Okay. And so now we've got prayers going up to heaven for Morris. And here's the thing, though, Jenny. You had the training. You had the devotion to nursing. And, you know, you were kind of, you were put into the midst of having to use all your training, use all your skills. With your husband, who's the nearest and dearest to you. And my goodness, I mean, Wow, what an amazing journey you have been on. I don't know. I don't call it a story. It's a journey.
It's a journey. It's a walk. It's a everything is meant to be, and there's a reason for our hardships. And this is my opinion, but we're placed in people's lives, and people are placed in our lives for a reason, and we need to be open to that reason that God has for us.
Yes.
There are no coincidences. I mean, my husband was several years older than me. We came from different parts of the country. We had different levels of education, but somehow we came together and it clicked. And I had been told by the hospice team that at my age, that most of the people would have left the marriage.
Wow.
And they said, you were unusual that you stayed, and you were unusual because you never said, why me?
Right.
Which blows my mind because, marriage vows till
Right.
death do we part. I mean, it's
Right.
a covenant. And but I just feel so grateful to be able to be in that position.
Oh yeah. Well, you've
to
even yeah.
touch, to bring in therapeutic touch. Our babies are born and we wear gloves. Our people die and we wear gloves. And it's just become standard protocol. And, I tell people, when someone is dying, unless there's risk of contamination, touch them. Give them human touch. Minister to them.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Jenny, I have to tell you, you're the reason that I love nurses so much. When I was going through my cancer issue many years ago, it was the nurses that got me through it. It was the nurses that would come in and hold your hand and just like you said, and would touch you, stroke your arm, just say it'll be okay. And I see I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking the nurses. Nursing is just one of the most amazing vocations. I love nurses. So thank you. Thank you for imparting to us and reminding us how beautiful the gift of what we can do for others in terms of service in nursing, as in teaching, in being a medical professional, in anything, fireman, a policeman, anything we can do to help in service of others. Jenny, you inspired us today. Thank you. Thank you for being
Thank you, and thank you for your ministry, and thank you for your own yes.
Oh, thank you.
Because
God bless
God
you.
is certainly using you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Please continue to pray for us. I mean, please, and all the listeners, we really would appreciate it, Jenny. And God bless you. Thank you so much for calling in today, and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of the day. Wow, beautiful story. Beautiful, beautiful journey. I love it. Okay, Philip, we saved you for last, and I want to apologize ahead of time. You're going to actually help close the show with me, but Philip's listening to EWTN Radio in New York on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Philip. Welcome to Take Two.
Yes, hi, Debbie. This is first time I called the radio station, but I just love your program, and I wanted to call in until I realized you weren't taking any calls one night about prayer. But can I tell you a little bit about my background? I'll try to be short. I grew up in a Catholic family and went to college, 2-year college, and there was a Catholic chaplain there who got me into the charismatic renewal and so forth. And then later on, I went to work with my father in this printing place. But then he asked me if I wanted to be a Claretian volunteer for a year or so with them. So I did that in New Jersey, and I did all kinds of things with the poor and the elderly and so forth. I wanted to continue my ministry, but it was not in the Lord's will, because I tried different orders that worked with the poor, and then I even went to a charismatic, monastery, Benedictine monastery, and I'm not supposed to know this, but every time you make recommitments and those in vows vote on you, the last time I missed it by one vote.
Oh,
somebody told me that, so that, she said, it should make you feel better. It was not in the Lord's plan. So anyway, I came back to this area because I have a sister that lives here, and I was with my parents on and off in between. And anyway, my first real job on my own was after I went to the what do you call it? Well, anyway, was working in home health care with the elderly. I was a personal care aide, and for some reason, I got all the old people, like 90s and whatever, and but I grew to love them, and even this one man, he was, he wanted to do things differently, and he was kind of, whatever, and he ate pancakes all the time, and he had this woman come and that lived on a farm and cooked for her brothers, and whatever, show me how to make pancakes. But anyway,
well, Philip, can I ask you, so have you continued in the healthcare industry, or did you switch?
Yes. Well,
okay.
After with that, I wanted to tell you about this gentleman because he used to say little things with me, but because I wasn't complaining, the agency kept me with them because he had gone through so many aides before, they couldn't take him and said goodbye.
Right.
Yeah,
wow.
So I always felt I had that rapport with the elderly, and maybe because when I was little and had problems, and I was left with my grandparents and a lot of other older people while my parents, did what they had to do. But then I did go on to work at a hospital in the area, where a lot of our patients were elderly.
Right.
And I just had to.
Well, Philip, let me share something with you because we're getting ready to close the show. I just wanted to say I could tell, but from the beginning of your journey, that you have a wonderful spirit and you're open to people and you're wanting to serve others, and you can hear that in your voice. It comes across loud and clear, and I love it. And that spirit is, I believe, what even Pope Francis is telling us to do, to go out there and to really be Christ to others. And there's just, it's a beautiful thing to be in service of others. And, we're getting ready for Holy Week coming up. And we know that for the washing of the feet, of what it means to be in service to our brothers and sisters in Christ. And so keep that in mind too for next week. But Philip, that was a great story. Thank you for being a first-time caller. And I'm sorry I couldn't spend more time with you, but as you can hear the music, the show is getting ready to close. So thank you, Philip. Monday's show, Jerry will be back, and we titled it, What Did the Reformers Reform? Think about that over the weekend, and also while you're enjoying St. Joseph's Day tomorrow. Pray to St. Joseph. He's awesome. What a great saint, and tomorrow is his feast day. So thank you, dear listeners, for being with me. Thanks for being with me the last couple days while Jerry was gone. So I want to wish you a beautiful and blessed weekend. See you on Monday.